Strea and Philia are arriving in Underworld, Gleam Eyes is the boss of the free Silica DLC, as well as a whole lot more news for Sword Online Alicization Lycoris, and the Unital Ring campaigns are continuing in mobile games. Welcome everyone, it's me Gamerturk, your best source of Sword Online information, bringing you all the news from the SAO Beaters Cafe fan appreciation event on March 21st. Timestamps will be in the description, or you can use the chapters feature on the video player to jump over to specific topics you're interested in. I'll also provide a link to our live coverage of the event on SAO Wikia, so if you want you'll be able to just quickly glance over all the news if you don't particularly care about additional comments, interpretations, opinions from me. But if you're here for all of that, don't forget to subscribe. Too many of you are not subscribed. You know, subscribing helps you, it helps me, helps the Wikia, helps Celeste. It's a win-win-win-win situation for everyone. But because my schedule is kinda packed and I don't have time to spend to convince you to follow me everywhere via quality shitposting, I'll just jump over to the news, going chronologically. So we are starting with the mobile game news, which I won't go too in depth, just here to briefly report on the Unital Ring campaigns and some other little things. First off, Memory Defrag, they actually shared proper concept art for an upcoming Silica unit, and I wish these games shared more of their concept art. They have way too much stuff with the amount of units they have. We had some more illustrations in the form of staff sketches for fan ideas that were submitted for new unit ideas. One plain short Sinon and one wedding Yui was shown, but the actual voting for the new character had nothing to do with those sketches, as fans were given the option between Duel Blades Magic Girl Yuki, Rapier Cheerleader Yuna, and Duel Blades Wolf Kirito, none of which were given visual reference material, and obviously Magical Girl Yuki won the vote. Last piece of news on the Memo Defu stage was the continuation of the Unital Ring campaign, announcing Cait Sith Alice's arrival following the Unital Ring Kirito unit. Then we move on to the Rising Steel stage, which started with the Tiese original outfit contest and 5 finalists, and to be honest, all the outfits looked absolutely gorgeous, but the winner was the more noble and elegant Tiese design, so congrats Akko Bear channel, we all love your illustrations on Twitter and it must be great to have your design in the game. Next up was another character poll, which was a whole lot more meme focused. It was a contest for designing Incarnate Attacks for characters featuring the legend himself, Kibaou spamming his traditional Nandea, another one featuring Klein letting off steam due to not having a girlfriend, and one for Edith, who honestly was just a fish out of water with these two other meme champs, so nobody even cared about her as expected. It was a very close run, but Kibaou managed to win this vote, beating Klein in a final rock paper scissor contest. Still on Rising Steel, we are getting a 7 unit in the game. This is gonna be her first appearance in the game following her older sister Rain, so welcome to Rising Steel 7. She'll be a dagger character and will appear on March 26th. Sadly, we're not getting a new Rain unit to accompany her, but only a home background that you can waste your money over. Who even bothers with these home packs? There are also some other planned updates that I'll put into the background. You can pause and read if you want. Also, for whatever reason, the English Twitter account for Rising Steel literally removed 2 Agile illustrations from their announcement slide compared to the Japanese original we had. I honestly have no idea what the fuck they were thinking while keeping 9 other illustrations shown just fine. Seriously, give Agile. And as part of the Unital Ring campaign in Rising Steel, we will be getting Sinon and Leafa in their Unital Ring attires, so look forward to them. V21 Unital Ring 1 and V23 Unital Ring 2 covers are also gonna be becoming home background illustrations in the UR Exchange Point shop, although don't expect Unital Ring 3 cover in there anytime soon. Eoline must probably remain a mystery a little longer. Another nice thing was that they shared some concept art for their Moon Cradle side story adaptation project. I particularly liked the Mecha Dragon cockpit shots here. Again, you can pause to observe a bit longer if you want. Integral Factor had the least juicy announcements in comparison. Basically, a large showcase of fan-submitted characters to be considered to become NPCs, as well as a couple skill record designs, including an entire meme page dedicated to Kibaou and Duel. It's not that the fan creations are bad, they are neat, they're nice, some of them are great even. It's just that compared to the other mobile game news, Integral Factor just didn't have any actual news. But hey, that Klein and Kismet illustrations are really nice. But that brings us to the Alicization Lycoris segment. Of course, the main treat of the Lycoris segment is the new trailer and the key visual for the first paid DLC, but beforehand, they talked about bringing costumes and weapons from fan favorite illustrations. Well, it was not exactly clear how many of those outfits and weapons will be coming. The Integrity Knight Kirito illustration from Rising Steel has been confirmed to be implemented. Also, co-producer Minami has been very vocal about wanting to bring in the Knights of Blood armor of Asuna as well as her Lambent Light from SAO, both of which seem to have been confirmed to be coming too. And now let's go a bit more in depth for the trailer. If you want to watch it, just click on the icon on the top right. We have translated it on SAO Wikia. But first off, it was quite the long one. We completely ignored the first half of it as it was just a recap of all the previous updates so far, with only its second half focusing on upcoming content. A tiny bit of previews for free DLC 3, The Bruised King, featuring Ilfang the Cobalt Lord as the main boss, and then a preview for the free DLC 4 that we had seen nothing so far up until this point, although we had known for a very long time that its boss would be the Gleam Eyes, the floor 74 boss of Aincrad. It really could not have been anything else with the chapter title Blue-Eyed Demon. That is the exact same title they used for the Gleam Eyes episode in the anime. Aside from Gleam, they also revealed the Divine Armor and Dagger of Silica that we'll be earning in this free DLC when we beat Gleam in the campaign, and it looks nice. I feel like the blue ribbon on the dress as well as the neck is a tad bit overkill, but I like the general fox-like theme going on. Reminds me of Firefox Silica unit from the early days of MD. That had really nice art. I actually cleared the floor clearing event with that unit. Memories. They finally did properly showcase the new Duel Arena mode. It's called Arena of Recollections, although it may end up getting called something else in the localization, who knows. But it is exactly what was told it was, a boss duel rush mode that goes up to level 400 for now. Again, the arena is being implemented in the course of the Silica DLC, however, its reward shop where you can actually redeem the items for rewards is only coming with the Silica DLC, so consider this more of a personal challenge for now if you feel like it. Unless they have some tricks up their sleeves, or unless you wanna grind preemptively for the arrival of the store, I guess. They have also shown the Adventure Camp again, which will act as your hub for everything in the game to provide some ease of access. I mean, you can pretty much do everything in Centauria too, but if this Adventure Camp allows me to enter DLC boss raids without having to go to their individual maps, that's a massive net benefit in my opinion on its own. Since it's a small area, it will likely load a whole lot faster as well compared to many other maps. Now if they could only give us the next gen update, seriously, 60 FPS and 2-second load times please, I'm still waiting. New weapon type, spears. Again, it's something that we had more detailed info on in the previous news drop, so I recommend checking that one out if you haven't. To learn more about how the spear is going to function, I'll be linking it in the description too. Big reveal, depending on what your expectations were, but in my opinion it was quite clear they would start the introduction of the SAO Gameverse heroines with Strea and Philia. They were the first two heroines of the SAO Gameverse, so it's only natural they come first to pay homage to that. Mind you, as far as we know, these won't be the actual Strea and Philia themselves, but rather their cloned personalities to appear in Underworld as wayfarers according to the Lycoris limited edition drama CD that we will share the translation of in the near future, so stay tuned for that. Of course, as you check their new Underworld designs, I'll go ahead and mention what you can potentially expect of their arrivals. This is not from those streams, these are my personal expectations of what we can get from those characters. If previous games are anything to go by, once Strea and Philia arrive, they will most certainly get character events tied to them. If you remember Rain and Seven's introduction in Hollow Realization, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Probably one default event to welcome them both, and then they will likely have their own individual affinity events as you increase your bonds with them. Very likely one, potentially 2 gallery images each, and of course, in addition to that, they will have their own set of bed scenes too. But I personally do not expect them to have any relevance in the first paid DLC, Myosotis aka Blooming of Forget-Me-Not, very similar to the DLC introduced characters of Hollow Realization. However, I am excited to learn more about the theme of the second paid DLC in the future, since if we get something like a War of Underworld adaptation, something like Battle of Underworld in a smaller scope, we'll surely get to see Strea, Philia and many others to join the fray. And last but not least, from the trailer, probably the biggest reveal in fact during the entire stream that we had, is a new teaser for the first paid DLC, Alicization Lycoris Myosotis. The first one was of course the Evil King Yu-Gi-Oh teaser that we had months ago, but this one has no direct connections to that. We see Kirito suddenly waking up in shock, either in the Cloudtop Garden or wherever the fuck we revived Medina in the true ending of the game, and Asuna trying to ease his mind. Many people seem to think Kirito just woke up from a nightmare where he saw this Evil King Yu-Gi-Oh scene play out, but I'm inclined to believe that is not the case. First off, that is an incredibly random spot for Kirito to just be casually sleeping. Mind you, he's sleeping peacefully as far as we can see with relaxed facial figures, despite Asuna sitting next to him as indicated by her hand, as well as when he's jumping up she is there in shock. So not only does what we hear from Asuna not exactly match the visual we're seeing, it also seems like this is an extremely random place to casually sleep, and even more of a random place to have Asuna watching Kirito for no reason whatsoever. So, my theory is that Asuna's sentence here is not from this scene, specifically due to the "if you find it painful to even talk about it, I'll give you a hug" line. Asuna seems to know the exact thing that happened that is making Kirito uncomfortable here. Whereas the scene we're watching unfold, Kirito suddenly waking up, in my opinion that is Kirito diving back into Underworld shortly after he left at the end of the main game. He logged out, but since it wasn't a system controlled logout from the outside, his body didn't disappear, and they brought him over to the Cloudtop Garden with Asuna volunteering to watch him until he returned. And he suddenly wakes up here, completely out of breath. I would say there is indeed something weird going on Ocean Turtle that he was finally made aware of, perhaps the reason why their contact with Cradle was abruptly broken back in chapter 2. But of course, a disaster has already been put in motion from the outside that eventually goes into Yu-Gi-Oh becoming the Evil King that we saw in the first teaser, and only then is Asuna saying these lines to Kirito because she knows Kirito is, as usual, blaming himself for what became of Yu-Gi-Oh. But yeah, that's pretty much my take on this scene. And finally, the key visual for Myosotis shows up, and it is quite the interesting key visual regarding its context. We got more than just Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh front and center. We have what I'll call the Myosotis blade for now, possibly Evil King Yu-Gi-Oh's choice of weaponry erected on a pile of Myosotis flowers. We got the 4 quadrants, of course, each showcasing different fronts from around the human empire. On the top left, we got Asuna from what looks like the Eastern Canyons, not the Eastern Ravine specifically, since the Great Eastern Gate is nowhere to be seen, but that little wall and gate does remind me of the place in Tritis Pass just before the Great Eastern Gate. Certainly looks like a similar construct, like an outpost, behind which you can see some more settlements with a pseudo-castle-like design to them. We got Fanatio, even more of a surprise to have her rather than Berkuli here, indicating maybe something has happened to Berkuli in the first place. You can also see that sad and angry glare in her eyes, and she appears to be in a much more barren place, seemingly the Southern Empire, with geography looking like the less sandy portions of the Düsseldorf desert. Top right, we got Tiese and Ronye in a snowy location, and you may be asking where that is, because the story of the game never takes you to anywhere snowy, but Western Empire does currently have a snowy mountain region already. It is fully playable, you can just go there and do whatever you want. It just had no main campaign progression attached to it, so it appears those two will be visiting the Western Empire around those regions. Ronya's pose is particularly intriguing, Tiese is more scared / worried about something, but Ronya seems to be looking upwards towards something, someone, as if wishing or praying or seeing a celestial figure perhaps. Alice, of course, in the bottom right. It's clear farmlands over there with a general lush greenery despite the night. That is the Northern Empire, so Alice is likely on her efforts to protect Selka as usual. Maybe we'll get a War of Underworld hint with goblins trying to sneak in from the Northern Cave or something, who knows? I don't. I'm just speculating on what I see in these images. But if you enjoyed or appreciate these news drops, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon for more in-depth Sword Online coverage and news. Consider becoming a channel member to get access to special badge and exclusive emotes to use. Follow me on Twitter and Facebook for faster news access. 50k special merch as well as others are available on my Spring page. And a huge thanks to all my patrons and channel members as usual. Until next time, keep your head